Why is researching mock juror decision-making important? Often, jurors are affected by extralegal factors when they make their decisions, which are factors not related to the law. Examples of common extralegal factors include race and gender. In our study, Abuse in Sports, the Influence of Victim Gender, Defendant Gender, and Type of Abuse, we examined how gender and abuse affected mock juror decision-making in the context of coaches abusing their athletes. This study was important given that recent research reported that while emotional abuse is common in sports, it is under-acknowledged. In the decision-making literature, some research has found that female victims elicit harsher punishment and guilty verdicts for the defendant, and other research has found that male defendants are perceived to be more culpable for their crimes. Although physical and emotional abuse are both common in athletic contexts, in general, physical abuse is perceived to be more serious. There is limited research examining perceptions of emotional abuse in sports between coaches and their athletes. In our study, we hypothesized that mock jurors would assign higher ratings of guilt and more guilty verdicts when the abuse was physical, the defendant was male, and the victim was female. We also hypothesized that mock jurors would perceive the defendant more favorably when the abuse was emotional, the defendant was male, and the victim was female. We asked mock jurors, who were undergraduate students, to read a case vignette describing a situation where an athlete, the victim, was accusing their coach of abusing them. Our results indicated that when the abuse was emotional, mock jurors had more positive views of the defendant, were more likely to believe the victim was fabricating the abuse, and believed that the abuse was more common and acceptable. When the abuse was physical, mock jurors were more likely to believe the victim and agree the case should proceed to trial. Our results also indicated that mock jurors believed the abuse was more common when the coach was male, the victim was female, and the abuse was emotional. Mock jurors who believed abuse was a common occurrence in sports were less likely to believe the case should proceed to trial. In examining abuse in sports, coaches are able to provide a rationale for engaging in emotional abuse over physical abuse. For example, coaches have mentioned increased performance when they yell at their athletes. It is possible that the general public believe in this rationale as well, explaining why physical abuse is perceived much more negatively. This is problematic given that emotional abuse has been found to be more common than physical abuse. As mock jurors believed male coaches were more likely to emotionally abuse female athletes and female coaches were more likely to emotionally abuse male athletes, it may be due to the fact that men are perceived to be more dominant and women may feel the need to overcome gender stereotypes by acting more aggressively to maintain their power position. This is disheartening given that male victims may be less inclined to report emotional abuse, and mock jurors believed emotional abuse was more acceptable behavior when compared to physical abuse. Overall, the results of our study demonstrated that while gender has little influence, the type of abuse does influence mock juror decision-making. If you would like to know more about our study, please check out the full article. Thanks for watching!